In this video, we'll be bringing light to the new moon in Virgo as a grounded new beginning and an opportunity to transmute karma. Welcome to the Free to Be Free portal. I'm Julia Ananda, and I'm here with astrologer Margaret Miller. Margaret, thank you for bringing your insights to this time.
You're so welcome, Julia. I'm happy to be here and always excited to talk about the new moons and the full moons. So this new moon is happening on August 23rd at 2:06 a.m. Eastern time. So in Pacific, people on the Pacific time, it's happening on late night on the 22nd. And it is happening at the very first degree of Virgo, and which means that we are going to have two new moons in Virgo. One right in now, on the 23rd, and then another one on September 21st. So right before we move into the sign of Libra, of course. And so this kind of makes it a very powerful time to empower our things that have to do with Virgo. And so I wanted to sort of revisit just a little bit of the Virgo energies before I talk about the astrology. And so some of the key words that I have talked about before have to do with perfecting, adapting, responsibility, conviction, healing, mentoring and teaching, and really being practical and grounded, like bringing practicality and groundedness into our lives. Virgo is an earth sign. It's mutable, it's changeable, it can adapt. And so it's a very powerful energy. So here we have the sun and the moon conjunct one another at this new moon at 0 degrees, 23 minutes of Virgo. And I always round up to the next degree because I look at the Sabian symbols. And so between 0 and 1 degrees is Virgo 1. The Sabian symbol for Virgo 1 is, in a portrait, a man's best traits are idealized. We talked about this a little bit in the last video because it was the last Sabian symbol of that. So it's shared between gene key 29 and gene key 59. So let's think about this Sabian symbol just for a moment, where we are, sorry, I'm being distracted by whatever you're doing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. I
Clear
was
throat.
putting our keyword in the
Yeah.
thing. Okay. Sorry. Okay.
Um, I'm wondering if you can just take me off the screen, or take our pictures off the screen so I can just look at the
I
maybe.
my picture's off the screen. Can you still see me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, the recording cannot see me. Let's see.
Okay.
Um,
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm done. I'm done. Sorry. I'm
It's,
done futzing around.
it's okay. I mean, if you need to do that, it's fine.
I just didn't want to lose it. I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I'm going to come back to that. So, in a portrait, a man's best traits are idealized. And so feeling into this energy and looking at it for the energy of this new moon, right? It's saying that we're looking for the best parts of ourselves, and we're wanting to bring across the best parts of ourselves. And really, in order to do this, and this has to do also with the gene key 59, which is the shadow of dishonesty, the gift of intimacy, and the city of transparency. Okay, it has to do with the fact that we can't bring the best parts of us out into the world if we're not willing to go inside and look at what's there. okay, and look at the pain that's there, the suffering that's there, the trauma that's there, and to be intimate with ourselves, to be honest with ourselves about, what's in there, and what needs to be cleared, and you know what has been blocking us. So it's just a really powerful symbol for the new moon. First of all, we have the new moon, which is always about new beginnings. Every new moon is about new beginnings, but we have it at the very first degree of Virgo. So it's a double new beginning, right? And so Virgo likes to is rules the sixth house of our daily work routines and our daily health routines and our rituals and our practices and our ceremony, what we do for ourselves and for our lives, that then becomes the energy for our service to the world. Okay, so this is really what Virgo is about. And so having a Sabian symbol that's so much about um, really bringing forward the best parts of ourselves. And of course, that isn't an easy thing to do. And this is, made, that point is made more strongly by a square here to the planet Uranus. And for some reason, I didn't put Sedna on this chart, but Sedna is the dwarf planet that is right now that Uranus is conjunct, and they're both at 2 degrees of Gemini. And so a square aspect, first of all, is a friction aspect. It's where there's tension, there's conflict, there's challenges, internal struggles, right? And possibly even outer obstacles. And it's pushing us to confront our limitations and to be able to develop resilience. And that's always what a square is doing. So in this case, a square with Uranus in its highest aspects is again about the higher mind, the higher consciousness, the higher awareness, um, the higher self, and it brings about its changes quite drastically sometimes and quite suddenly. It can be like a lightning bolt. It can be like a very supercharged event. And in Gemini, okay, so it's right in the very first couple degrees of Gemini, the second degree of Gemini. Gemini is the ruler of our minds, right? It's that Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and it's our minds and our communications and our thought processes and how we learn, how we communicate. And so Uranus there is wanting to bring that to its higher octave, but it's also going to do so. It can do so in sort of shocking ways or surprising ways, right? And so when Uranus is in a square aspect to the sun or moon, you can kind of feel that there's that tension or that struggle will result in something, right? It's going to result in something. There's going to be some kind of an outer expression of that we get to work through. And so I like to look at the challenging aspects, what they call the hard aspects in astrology, from that perspective, that because of the tension, because of the friction that the square causes, it guarantees that there's going to be some kind of resolution that happens. And so if we stay focused on the highest aspects of these transits, right, the new moon and the square to Uranus, then we can have the energy and the attention required, the focus required to make the changes that are necessary. Because it's not an easy thing, right? It's not an easy thing to have the to have the our best traits idealized out in the world, right? We have to actually do it. We have to actually do the work to get there. And so then that leads me to this very interesting configuration right here that's in the green. So both of these lines here each represent what's called a quincunx, and that is a 150-degree angle. It's formed by two planets making a sextile, which is a 60-degree angle right here. So we have, right, in this case, we have Neptune and Saturn conjunct one another, sextile to Pluto. And they, in turn, both separately make 150-degree angles to the sun and the moon. Now, by themselves, a quincunx is it's a frictional, another friction energy where it's just not quite right. It's very uncomfortable. It feels misaligned. Something needs to change, something needs to give in order for this energy to be direct and to make the changes it needs to make. It can be in somebody's birth chart, in the natal chart, if they have this aspect, it's very subtle, and it will only show up over time as like a behavioral pattern or something, some sort of a pattern that needs to change, right? But you don't notice it, in the day-to-day necessarily until it comes to a head, and then it has to be dealt with, right? And so, but in the world chart, this is for all of us. This is that yod, that finger of fate. Okay, so both of these two together create what's called a yod, which is this really uh, narrow triangle. And that yod or that finger of fate is saying that this point here, where the tip of the finger is, right? This is where the energy is highlighted. This is what needs to change. The two greatest lights in the heavens, the sun and the moon, in our personal charts, that's our self, our inner light, and our emotional nature. Okay, so, and are being challenged to change by Neptune and Saturn together at the very first and second degrees of Aries, the very beginning of the astrological chart, yet another new beginning in the chart, and Pluto at the second degree of Aquarius, also in the very early degrees of its new sign. So we have all of these planets that are in the very beginning of their new signs, which, I think we've talked about before, is like this time in the world, in our history, right, is a new beginning in very, very, very big and powerful ways. So let's look at the energy of this Neptune and Saturn conjunction at the very first degrees of Aries. We talked about a little bit before, but this is, Saturn is our structures, it's our foundations, it's our limitations, it's our authority figures. But it's also about, at its highest frequencies, it's about mastery. And it is at the very first degree of Aries right now, okay? And conjunct Neptune, Neptune is the window to our soul. It is the planet of our highest form of love, unconditional love, universal love. But it's also when it's its shadow aspects, right? When it's in its lower frequencies, it's also illusion and confusion and fog and delusion and addiction, right? So when the windows, it's the windows to the soul. When the windows are clean, you're looking out through the eyes of love. When the windows are dirty, you're, dealing with confusion and fog and delusion and so forth. And so these two planets together, right at the very first degrees of the zodiac, the very beginning of the zodiac, are saying, let's restructure. Let's restructure things so that the windows are clean. Let's restructure things so that we can move forward uh, with a clean slate. Let's restructure things so that we are uh, really living in and demonstrating the new earth and the new world and the new human, right? This is I think it's a very, very powerful conjunction that we are going through right now. And it happens to be in the 25th gene key, which is the shadow of constriction, the gift of acceptance, and the city of universal love. Okay, so it really is this opportunity for this new beginning. And in this 150-degree aspect, it's saying we've got a lot of work to do, folks, in order for that to be what's demonstrated, right? And so then Pluto on the other end of this, in this sextile to Saturn and Neptune, um, is at the second degree of Aquarius. The Sabian symbol for that is an unexpected thunderstorm. And so Pluto, as we probably know, is about power. It's about death and rebirth and transformation and transmutation and changing things at the deepest level and uncovering the hidden truths and really, really bringing to light what needs to come to the surface. And so this Sabian symbol of the unexpected thunderstorm has to do with the coming to grips with the fact that we're not in control of everything, and there we can't predict everything, and that these sudden changes and sudden storms and sudden things will happen so that the way is made clear, and but we can't do anything about that there just are certain things that aren't. So it's kind of an interesting symbol, that's also a part of this yod, right? This finger of fate. And so Pluto also in Aquarius, is really changing how we do society. It will, over its time in Aquarius, will begin to help us to transmute these old ways of being in the world. And so I want to go back. But also, let's see, as it's transiting, it's retrograde right now. So it's moving back to um, about the first degree of Aquarius before it stations direct and then starts moving forward again through Aquarius. And so right now it has moved out of the 41st gene key, which it was in the past several months, and is in the 60th gene key, which is the shadow of limitation, the gift of realism, and the city of justice. Okay, so it's quite interesting, these shadow energies and gift frequencies of these different planetary positions. So we have limitation, realism, and justice here, and we have constriction, uh, acceptance, universal love here, and we have dishonesty, intimacy, and transparency here in the new moon. Okay, so I just wanted to feel these energies. And then over here, I forgot to mention earlier, at 2 degrees of Gemini, um, we have the Sabian symbol. Oh, it's the Santa Claus filling the stockings. Okay. And so it's this idea of the childlike openness and open to possibilities, open to gifts and wonders and unexpected blessings. Okay. And sort of maybe even sort of a naive faith in a way. But it's in the 20th gene key, which is the shadow of superficiality, the gift of self-assurance, and the city of presence. Okay. So just to sum up, if I can do it. So we have this new beginning. We have this energy of the new moon in Virgo. What do we want to restructure? What do we want to begin new in our lives? And how can we bring the best parts of ourself to that new beginning? And utilize the energy of the square to Uranus, okay, that higher mind, and that energy of this, maybe some potential for unexpected gifts to come out of the challenges, right? Because that was the Sabian symbol there. And to really be present, to use presence, right? To use the that gene key 20, that presence of that Uranus, to bring attention to where we've been dishonest with ourselves or dishonest in our, because this dishonesty, this shadow of dishonesty, where the sun and the moon are here, is about how we kind of lie to ourselves and how we kind of ignore things that maybe are stopping us. And the intimacy, the gift of intimacy, is about getting personal with ourselves and really looking with honesty, with clarity about where we're at and what we can do and what we can't do, and what, just having that self-knowledge, right? So it's this self-knowledge square this self-assurance. Okay, so those are the two gifts there. And so finding a way to utilize that energy towards whatever our new beginning is. Then that energy of the yod, the finger of fate, that is being fueled by the energy of the Saturn and Neptune conjunction, okay, at the very beginning of Aries, the very first sign of the zodiac, right? In the gene key 25, which is constriction, acceptance, and universal love. So how can we, come to accept? It reminds me of um, the knowing what we can change and knowing what we can't change. I can't remember the the saying right now, but changing the things that we can change, accepting the things that we can't change, and then the ability to know the difference, right? And so that's what it kind of reminds me of, and being able to um, be with what is, while at the same time knowing that we're striving and that we are moving towards a higher, something higher. And then on the other side of that finger, the other side of that triangle, we have Pluto, which is asking us to transmute and to transform, and to, look at these things that were our limitations, look at the places where we were being dishonest, or look at the places that that have been hidden, and get familiar enough that we can then name them and bring them out into the light and transmute them and transform them. So I really feel like this is a powerful, powerful new moon. Yet again, I mean, like, this coming off of the full moon that we just, that we came off of in Leo, and then having yet another opportunity which we have every month, right? For a new beginning. But this is really, it feels like that finger, that finger in this chart, that yod in this chart is saying, don't miss this. Pay attention, because this is look at this point right here in your life. Look at this point. And so if you do look at your own astrology chart, notice where you have 0 and 1 degree and 2 degrees, that couple of degrees of Virgo. Notice where it is in your chart. Notice what house it's in, and maybe do a little bit of research into what that might mean. Notice if you have any planets there, and what it might be asking you to change or asking you to begin new again. Okay, I think I'll stop there.
Wow. It's like having a beautiful wave that we can hop onto to help propel us forward, or as we say in the cycling world, a tailwind, pushing us forward. It like don't miss the opportunity. Don't
Mhm.
miss the opportunity for growth. And I love how you explained how the tension and the challenge, if we stick with it and we're clear on what we're, the highest thing that we're going for, that challenge and that tension will create a result for us. It has to if we go through the churning of it, right?
Yeah, yeah. And
Uh,
so I you know, I like the idea of the tailwind. Uh, I also feel like, it is, these are challenging aspects, right? There's no doubt. They're challenging aspects. And and but they're so obvious in their astrological formation, that you can't miss it if you're looking for it. And so that does make it like a tailwind. Because once we can see it, we can change it. Once we have conscious awareness of something. And that's what that when I was talking about the quincunx, it's not obvious until it becomes this, until you have it in a sextile where there's this, this finger saying, here, look at this point and change that.
And what would you recommend that people do this weekend, Friday and Saturday, however that aligns with their timing and their dates, to create clarity in what they want to step into?
Well, I would, I like to utilize the Sabian symbols, so I would be looking at, what is the ideal, what is the ideal self? What is for you? And I think we talked about this on the last new moon as well, because it really was that energy of this recreating ourselves. And I think we're still in that energy, but now in a much more in the grounded sign of Virgo, right? And the earthy sign. And what is it that needs to change? What is it that needs to be seen, that needs to be let go of, that you need to get really honest about with yourself in order for that best version of yourself to come through? And so, meditation, or journaling, or something that where you take an inventory, something that allows you to feel into where where you are, where you're at right now, and where you want to be. Yeah, and I would also say anything that helps you to ground, helps you to get really connected to the earth, going out in nature, like you mentioned, the cycling or running or walking or hiking or gardening or whatever it is, like really get grounded in your body, and start asking questions, start being curious about Like, how am I being honest with myself? Am I honest with myself? Am I ignoring uh impulses? Am I ignoring my intuition, or am I paying attention? Do I know myself well, or am I still hiding parts of myself from myself? And if the answer is yes to that, if I'm like, I really haven't done a lot of, inward searching for a while, maybe it's time. Maybe this would be a really good time. And then to utilize the new moon to allow that to come into the light.
If we're striving to become the highest version of ourselves, then that question of what are we really not being honest with ourselves about? That's a really powerful um, meditation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's really important. And and along with that, I I really like to remind people to be really gentle with yourself as you're doing it. And I'll talk more about the Jinky 59 in another video. But that's really what the gift of intimacy is about, is recognizing, you know, recognizing where the difficulties are, and but also loving ourselves through that. Right? Being able to be honest with ourselves and be present with whatever is there, and to be gentle and loving and kind to ourselves, and that in turn will help us to bring into, more intimacy into our other relationships and into our life. But it has to start with us. And so the honesty is absolutely crucial, but so is the kindness and the gentleness to ourselves, because the tendency would be to get honest and then with ourselves, and then judge the heck out of ourselves, or
Right.
be really brutal on ourselves. And it's just not that's not it's not valuable, and it's not productive at all. It doesn't help us
Mhm.
any. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to put a link for our audience to the Gene Key 59 video, which is for this time frame as well. And I'm also going to put a link to the video for presence, because you talked about that gene key and that city quite a bit. And I also want to let the audience know that you do private astrology readings. And it can be so helpful for people to understand their own symbology. Yeah.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think
So
it's
I'll put your link in the description of the video. Great. Awesome. Oh my gosh, Margaret, this is incredible. Thank you so much. And to our audience, if you love this video and this conversation as much as I did, please hit the thumbs up to like and subscribe for more videos. And now at the end of this video, you'll be able to go to the other ones we were talking about. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.